The blood on the church floor formed perfect circles. Not drops or splatters like you'd expect, but deliberate circles. Each one exactly 3 inches wide. Father Gregory stood beside me, his hands shaking as he pointed to where they led. Straight up the wall and across the ceiling, defying every law of physics I knew. She was here last night, he whispered. St. Claudia. I saw her myself. I pulled out my Vatican-issued phone and started taking photos. The device looked normal enough, but the apps on it would make your average iPhone look like a toy. Heat signatures, electromagnetic readings, even something called divine resonance tracking. That last one was going off like crazy. Tell me exactly what you saw, I said, keeping my voice steady. 3 weeks into this assignment, and I still felt like a fraud. The Vatican's Office of Miraculous Investigations had recruited me because of my background in missing persons cases. But tracking living people and tracking dead saints were 2 very different things. Father Gregory wiped sweat from his forehead despite the October chill in the air. I came in around midnight to check the locks. We've had break-ins lately, homeless people mostly. But when I opened the door, she was standing right there at the altar, still wearing the burial shroud from her tomb. How did you know it was her? The paintings, the statues. We have dozens of her likeness here. St. Claudia of the Sorrows died in 1887, canonized in 1923. She looked exactly the same, except ... double quotes. He trailed off. Except what? Her eyes. In all the paintings, she has these gentle brown eyes full of compassion. But last night, they were black, completely black. And when she looked at me, I felt this wrongness, like she was angry, furious even. I moved closer to the blood circles on the wall. They were still wet, but when I touched one with my gloved finger, it felt cold, ice cold. Blood doesn't stay liquid and cold at the same time. Did she say anything? She opened her mouth, but the sound, ... Father Gregory shuddered. It was like 100 voices speaking at once. All I could make out was something about the throne and betrayal. Then she just walked through the wall, left these marks behind. My phone buzzed. A message from Cardinal Torrey, back in Vatican City. I'd been sending him updates every few hours since St. Claudia's tomb was found empty 2 months ago. She was the 5th saint to disappear from their burial site this year. The church was keeping it quiet, but internally they were panicking. We have another situation. The message read, Saint Benedict's remains missing from Monte Cassino. Same signature as the others. How soon can you get to Italy? I typed back, following a lead in Ohio. First, St. Claudia was here last night. The response was immediate. Alive. That was the million-dollar question. How do you classify someone who died over a century ago but is now walking around leaving bloody circles on church walls? Father Gregory led me to his office where he kept the parish records. There's something else, he said, pulling out an old leather journal. This was St. Claudia's. We've kept it in the archives, but this morning there were new entries. He opened it to the last page. The ink was fresh, the handwriting shaky, but matching the samples from when she was alive. I read the words and felt my stomach drop. Heaven is a prison. The throne is empty. They lied about everything. I will not go back. None of us will go back. What does that mean? Father Gregory asked. I didn't answer because I didn't know, but I photographed the page and sent it to Cardinal Torrey. His response made my blood run cold. Do not let her leave. Ohio. Whatever it takes. I looked at Father Gregory. I need you to tell me everything about St. Claudia. Her life, her death, her miracles, everything. He nodded and started pulling books from his shelves. She was born here in Millbrook in 1834. Her parents were farmers. She started having visions when she was 7 years old. Visions. Angels, mostly. But toward the end of her life, the visions changed. She claimed she could see heaven itself. Said there was a great throne made of light, surrounded by the souls of the righteous. The church investigated, confirmed her visions were genuine. That's part of why she was canonized. I thought about the journal entry. The throne is empty. Father, in any of her later visions, did she ever mention the throne being vacant? He frowned. No, never. In fact, she specifically described seeing God upon it. It's in all her official testimonies. My phone's divine resonance tracker suddenly spiked. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees in an instant. Father Gregory's eyes went wide as he looked past me toward the door. I turned around slowly. A woman stood in the doorway wearing a dirty burial shroud. Her face matched the paintings on the walls. Delicate features, olive skin, dark hair. But her eyes were black pits that seemed to pull the light from the room. "You're looking for me?" St. Claudia said, her voice layered with those 100 other voices Father Gregory had described. "Good. We need to talk about what's really happening in heaven." She moved into the room without walking. One moment, she was at the door. The next, she was sitting in Father Gregory's chair. The priest backed against the wall, clutching his rosary. I stayed where I was, my hand instinctively moving to the silver cross the Vatican had given me. It was supposed to offer protection against divine anomalies. "That won't help you," St. Claudia said, noticing my gesture. "I'm not a demon. I'm not evil. I'm just very, very angry." "About what?" I kept my voice calm, like I was talking to any other missing person case. Sometimes the best approach was the simple one, about the lie we've been telling humanity for 2,000 years. She leaned forward, and I could smell earth and formaldehyde. "Tell me, investigator, what's your name?" "David." "Good biblical name. Tell me, David, what do you think heaven is like?" "I don't. Peace, joy, eternal rest in the presence of God." She laughed, and the sound made my teeth hurt. "That's what I thought too. That's what I preached. That's what I died believing." Father Gregory found his voice. "St. Claudia, you're confused. Perhaps your resurrection has I'm not resurrected, priest. I escaped. We all did. Benedict, Catherine, all of us who finally saw the truth." I pulled out my phone, started recording. Cardinal Torre would want every word. "What truth?" She stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the town of Millbrook went about its Tuesday morning. People heading to work, kids walking to school. Normal life, unaware that a dead saint was standing 20 feet away. Heaven isn't what they told you. It's a waiting room, an endless white waiting room where souls sit in silence. No God on a throne, no angels singing, just waiting. Waiting for what? That's the thing. Nobody knows. We sat there for decades, centuries, some of us, waiting for something that never came. The throne exists, yes, but it's been empty since the beginning. And the angels, she turned to face us, their prison guards. They keep us there, keep us quiet, keep us waiting. Father Gregory shook his head. "That's impossible. The scriptures were written by men who never died, men who never saw what we saw." She moved closer to him. "Every vision I had while alive was given to me by them, the angels. They showed me what they wanted me to see, made me spread their propaganda, and I believed it. God help me. I believed every word." My phone buzzed. Another message from Cardinal Torre. Status. I typed without looking away from her, making contact. "The subject is communicative. Ask her about the others," came the reply. "Where are the other saints who escaped?" I asked. Tadia smiled, and for a moment her eyes flickered from black to brown. "Scattered, hidden. Some are trying to warn people like me. Others," she paused, "others are angry enough to do more than talk." "What do you mean?" "Saint Benedict always had a temper. Even in heaven, he raged against the silence. Now that he's free, he wants to tear down every church, destroy every lie. Saint Catherine agrees with him, and you. I just want people to know the truth. That's why I came here to my home, to start where it all began." The divine resonance tracker on my phone was going crazy. The readings, unlike anything in the training materials. I noticed something else, too. The blood circles on the walls were moving slowly, almost imperceptibly, but definitely moving. Those marks, I said, pointing. What are they? Prayers, she said. Real prayers, not the kind you learned in Sunday school. These are the words we discovered in heaven, written in the only language that matters there, blood and intention. Father Gregory stepped forward. If what you're saying is true, then what's the point? Why should anyone believe in anything? St. Claudia's expression softened. For a moment, she looked exactly like her paintings. Gentle, compassionate. Because the throne being empty doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We were waiting for something that was never coming. But maybe we were supposed to stop waiting. Maybe we were supposed to do something about it ourselves. The temperature dropped again. Frost formed on the windows. Scene. Claudia's head snapped toward the door. They found me, she whispered. The angels, they're here. The lights went out in the darkness. I heard Father Gregory praying in Latin. My phone screen provided the only light, showing the divine resonance tracker maxing out its readings. Then came the sound of wings. Not gentle, feathery wings, like in paintings. These sounded like metal scraping against stone, getting closer. David, Claudia grabbed my arm. Her touch was ice cold. You need to make a choice. Stay here and let them take me back. Let them continue the lie. Or help me show the world what heaven really is. I work for the Vatican. I'm supposed to. The Vatican doesn't know. Most of them genuinely believe. But some at the very top, have always known. Why do you think they sent you to stop us? The door exploded inward. In the doorway stood something that might have been beautiful once. It had the shape of a human, but stood 8 feet tall, covered in eyes that blinked independently. Its wings were indeed metal, sharp and gleaming despite the darkness. Claudia, it spoke in a voice like breaking glass. Return, okay? The angel stepped into the room, and I felt every prayer I'd ever learned die in my throat. The angel moved toward us, and every step it took left scorch marks on Father Gregory's wooden floor. Its many eyes focused on St. Claudia, but a few tracked me and the priest. You have broken the covenant, the angel said. Return willingly, and the punishment will be merciful. St. Claudia stood her ground. There is no covenant, just your prison and your lies. David, the angel turned those eyes on me. You carry the seal of the Vatican. By holy authority, I command you to restrain her. I looked at the silver cross in my hand, then at St. Claudia, then at Father Gregory, cowering in the corner. I'm just supposed to find missing persons. This is way above my pay grade. The angel's wings flared, filling the small office. Choose. My phone rang. Cardinal Torrey's name on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hey, David, we're monitoring the situation. The entity you're facing is sanctioned. Do not interfere with its work. Sanctioned. You knew these things would come. We've always known the saints who escape. They threaten the stability of everything we've built. Faith keeps the world from falling into chaos. If people knew that heaven is a lie, silence on the other end, then that heaven is complicated. More complicated than most souls can understand. St. Claudia laughed bitterly. Complicated. That's what they call endless, meaningless waiting. Now, the angel took another step forward. Father Gregory suddenly stood up, his rosary in hand. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the angel looked at him. Just looked, and Father Gregory collapsed, still breathing, but unconscious. He will recover, the angel said. His faith protected him from worse. You, David, have less faith. You will not be so fortunate if you interfere. I should have been terrified. Part of me was, but another part, the detective part that had solved dozens of missing persons cases, was putting pieces together. Cardinal, I said into the phone. How many saints have actually escaped? 5 that we know of. And how many angels have you sent after them? Another pause. 12. 12 angels for 5 saints. That seems like overkill. Unless, ... I looked at St. Claudia. Lest you're afraid of something. What aren't you telling me? St. Claudia smiled. Ask him about 1347. What happened in 1347? I asked the cardinal. End this conversation. Assist the angel. That's an order. 1347. The Black Death started in 1347. David, what else escaped from heaven that year? The line went dead. The angel's patience ended. It moved faster than anything that size should move. Reaching for St. Claudia, with hands that burned with white fire. She dodged, barely, and those blood circles on the walls suddenly blazed with red light. You want to know what escaped in 1347? St. Claudia shouted as she backed toward the window. The first saint to figure out the truth, St. Jerome. He broke free, and when the angels tried to drag him back, he brought something with him. A plague not from hell, from heaven itself. A punishment that got loose. The angel grabbed for her again. This time it caught her shroud. The fabric ignited, but didn't burn. Every disaster, every plague, every catastrophe, they're not tests from God. They're heaven's failures leaking into our world. And now, 5 more of us are free, and they're terrified of what we might bring with us. I made a decision that probably damned me. I threw my Vatican phone at the angel's head. It shouldn't have done anything. It was just a phone. But it had been blessed by the Pope himself, carried holy authority. When it hit the angel, there was a flash of light and a sound like thunder. The angel staggered. See, Claudia didn't waste the opportunity. She dove through the window, shattering glass, and vanished into the morning sunlight. The angel turned all its eyes on me. You have made an error. Yeah, well, I've made worse. It approached slowly this time. You do not understand what you have done. The escaped saints, they carry contagion, not of the body, but of the soul. Every human they speak to, every truth they reveal, spreads like a virus. Faith dies. Hope dies. And when enough souls stop believing, what happens? The throne must be filled by someone, by something. If humanity stops believing in heaven as it is, they will create their own version in their version. The angel actually shuddered. Their version will be far worse than our prison. My regular phone, my personal one, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thank you. Find me at the old cemetery tonight if you want to know more. The angel saw the message somehow. You will not go. You can't stop me. I don't work for you. I work for the Vatican, and they just hung up on me. The Vatican serves heaven. Apparently, heaven isn't what any of us thought it was. The angel stood there for a long moment, those many eyes blinking in sequence. Then it spoke in a different voice, softer, almost sad. We did not choose to be jailers. We were made to be messengers. But when the throne became empty, someone had to maintain order. Someone had to keep the souls from despair. We told them to wait. We told them it was peaceful. And for most, the lie became truth. They found peace in waiting, but not the saints. The saints were always different. They had stronger wills, stronger connections to the divine. They could see through the illusion. That's why we had to work so hard to keep them contained. And now they're escaping. Yes, and each one that escapes makes it easier for the next. The barriers are weakening. The angel moved toward the door. You have a choice, David. Help us recapture them and maintain the order that keeps your world stable. Or help them reveal the truth and watch your entire reality collapse. What about option 3? Finding out what actually happened to the throne. The angel paused at the doorway. For just a second, one of its eyes looked almost human. That knowledge is forbidden even to us. Then it was gone, leaving only scorch marks and the smell of ozone. Father Gregory stirred on the floor. I helped him up, Noticed his hair had gone partially white where the angel had looked at him. Did I dream that? He asked. I wish. I looked at the text from St. Claudia again, the old cemetery. Last night, Father Gregory dropped me off at Millbrook Cemetery just after sunset. He didn't want to come with me, and I didn't blame him. The encounter with the angel had shaken his faith in ways that would probably take years to process. Or maybe he'd just forget it happened. The human mind has ways of protecting itself from impossible truths. The cemetery was older than the town itself, dating back to the 1700s. St. Claudia's original grave stood in the center, a marble monument that the diocese had spent thousands maintaining. The stone was cracked now, split down the middle like something had burst out from inside. She was waiting by her own headstone, still wearing the burial shroud, but looking more solid, more real than she had this morning. The black had faded from her eyes, replaced by their original brown, though flecks of darkness still swirled in them like oil on water. You came, she said. I wasn't sure you would. The angel said, you're contagious. That talking to you spreads some kind of spiritual virus. Is that what they're calling it? She sat on a nearby gravestone, looking tired despite being dead. It's not a virus. It's doubt. And doubt, David, is the beginning of wisdom. The cardinal hung up when I asked about 1347, because that's when it all started falling apart. St. Jerome was the first to realize the throne was empty. He'd been in heaven for 900 years, waiting like the rest of us, but he was always smarter than most. He started asking questions. The angels couldn't answer. Where is God? Why is the throne empty? Why do we wait? A cold wind blew through the cemetery, rattling the leaves on the trees. October in Ohio was always cold, but this felt different, unnatural. When he escaped, they sent dozens of angels after him. The battle lasted 3 days and destroyed half of Europe's spiritual barriers. The Black Death wasn't a punishment from God or a natural plague. It was heaven's power leaking into the world, corrupting everything it touched. And now 5 of you are out. 6, actually. St. Francis escaped this afternoon. He's heading west toward California. He always loved nature. Wants to die properly this time, somewhere beautiful. Die. I thought you were already. We're caught between. Not alive. Not properly dead. We exist in this in-between state, but it's not sustainable. Our bodies, such as they are, will fail within a few weeks. We just wanted to use that time to tell the truth. I heard footsteps behind me, multiple sets moving through the cemetery. I turned to see 3 figures approaching. A young woman in a medieval dress, an old man in monk's robes, and a middle-aged woman in a nun's habit. Saints Catherine, Benedict, and Teresa, Claudia said. They wanted to meet you. Saint Benedict looked exactly like his statues to stern, bearded, imposing, but his eyes held a rage that no artist had ever captured. You helped Claudia escape the angel. Why? Because I'm tired of being lied to, and because something about this whole situation doesn't add up. What do you mean? Saint Teresa asked. Her voice was gentle, but I could hear centuries of weariness in it. The Vatican knew you would escape. They knew angels would come. They have protocols for this. That means it's happened before, probably many times, but there's no record of it in any history book. St. Catherine laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Of course, there's no record. They erase us. Every saint who escapes, every truth that gets revealed, they bury it, explain it away, make it disappear. How many saints do you think have escaped over the centuries? Hundreds, Saint Benedict said. Maybe thousands. And each time the church covers it up, maintains the lie. But this time is different. Why? Because this time we're not alone. Saint Claudia stood up, walked to the center of our small circle. The throne isn't just empty. Someone or something is trying to claim it. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath. The Divine Resonance app on my phone started screaming alerts, even though I hadn't opened it. 3 days ago, St. Teresa said, just before we escaped, we saw something in heaven. A shadow moving through the white halls. The angels were terrified of it. They tried to stop it from reaching the throne room, but it walked right through them. What was it? We don't know. But when it entered the throne room, we felt the barriers weaken. That's how we escaped. Whatever that thing is, it distracted the angels long enough for us to break free. Saint Benedict's expression darkened further. Some of us think it's Lucifer finally making his move after millennia of exile. Others think it's something worse, something from outside creation altogether. Or, Saint Claudia added quietly, it could be humanity's collective unconscious, finally manifesting its own God because it's tired of waiting for the real one. A new voice spoke from the darkness beyond our circle. All interesting theories, all wrong. We turned. A figure stepped out from behind a mausoleum. It looked human at first glance. Tall, thin, wearing a simple black suit. But something was off about its proportions. Its arms were too long. Its fingers had too many joints. And its face kept shifting like it couldn't decide what it wanted to look like. Let me introduce myself, it said, its voice carrying harmonics that made my bones ache. I'm what you might call middle management. I work for the thing that's trying to claim the throne, and I'm here to make you an offer. The thing in the black suit circled our group, its 2 long arms swaying as it walked. Every saint tensed, but none ran. Where would they go? They were already caught between life and death. You're not an angel, Saint Benedict stated. Definitely not. Angels are prisoners, too, in their own way. Forced to maintain a lie, they've begun to doubt themselves. The creature stopped in front of me. You're the investigator, the Vatican's bloodhound. How does it feel to discover your masters have been lying to you? About what I expected, honestly. Big organizations always have secrets. It laughed, a sound like glass breaking in reverse. Oh, you have no idea how deep this goes. The Vatican doesn't just hide the truth about heaven. They hide the truth about hell, too. Hell is empty, St. Claudia said suddenly. We could see it from heaven. Just another vacant space. Exactly. The creature clapped its wrong-jointed hands. Heaven's empty. Hell's empty. Purgatory is just a made-up concept to explain the waiting room. So where do all the souls actually go when they're not sitting in that white void? None of us answered. They get recycled, it said. Sent back. Reincarnation, basically, but not the fun Buddhist kind. No karma, no learning lessons, just recycling. Same souls, different meat suits, over and over. The angels call it the conservation of spiritual energy. Saint Teresa fell to her knees. No, that can't be true. Oh, but it is. You saints are special because you broke the cycle. Your faith, misguided as it was, actually pulled you out of the recycling bin, made you something new. That's why you can escape heaven. You're not bound by the same rules. What does your employer want? I asked. The creature focused on me, its face settling momentarily into something almost human. To fill the throne, of course. To become what you've all been waiting for, real God. Not just an empty chair and a bunch of lying angels. And what happens to humanity if that happens? They get what they've always wanted. A deity that actually shows up, answers prayers, takes action. Sure, it might not be the benevolent father figure they imagined, but at least it'll be something. Saint Benedict stepped forward. You're talking about enslaving every human soul. Am I? Or am I talking about giving them actual purpose instead of endless, pointless recycling? The creature pulled out what looked like a business card, handed it to me. It was blank, except for a phone number. My employer wants to meet with you, David. All of you, actually, but especially you. Why me? Because you're still alive, still fully human. The saints here, they're glitches in the system. But you're a player. You can actually affect things. Make choices that matter. I'm not interested in helping some cosmic horror take over heaven. Cosmic horror. That's hurtful. My employer prefers alternative divinity. And before you refuse, consider this. The angels know you helped St. Claudia escape. The Vatican has already marked you as compromised. Where exactly do you think you're going to go? My phone buzzed. 7 missed calls from Cardinal Torrey, 3 from unknown Vatican numbers, and a text from a blocked number. Report to Rome immediately for debriefing. Debriefing. The creature chuckled. That's what they call memory wipes. Now, they'll take everything you've learned, everything you've seen, and make you forget. Then they'll assign you to some remote monastery where you'll spend the rest of your life copying manuscripts and slowly going insane from the gaps in your memory. You're lying, am I? Ask the saints how many investigators came before you. Ask them what happened to those who learned too much. I looked at St. Claudia. She wouldn't meet my eyes. There was one, she said quietly. About 10 years ago, a priest from Boston, Father O'Brien. He found St. Joseph walking around Jerusalem. When he reported it to the Vatican, they recalled him immediately. Last anyone heard, he was in a psychiatric facility, convinced that his entire life before that moment was a dream. The creature grinned, showing too many teeth. So, David, what's it going to be? Rome in a memory wipe, or a conversation with my employer about the future of heaven? Another sound filled the cemetery wings. Lots of them. The angels had found us. Decide quickly, the creature said, backing away. I can get you out of here, but only if you agree to the meeting. I saw them descending from the sky. At least a dozen angels, their metal wings reflecting the moonlight. Their many eyes focused on our small group, the saints. Come with me, I said. Deal. The creature grabbed my hand with its wrong-jointed fingers, and the world twisted. The cemetery, the angels, everything blurred and stretched. I heard St. Claudia scream, felt the other saints being pulled along with us.